Did Chuck Dixon predict Rippa's end? In an unearthed interview, it seems he may have. Even more bizarrely, this all happened years prior to him working with Rippa, and likely before he even knew who Rippa was. As strange as that may all sound, I believe it will all make sense by the end of this video. Get ready for some interesting comic book history, which will be compared to Eric's company. One of my biggest critiques of Eric July in the Rippaverse is that he hired the Saska twins to be his editors instead of one of his seasoned team members like Chuck Dixon or Mike Barron. But after further contemplation, I've realized that I may have been wrong about Eric. What if he did want one of them to be his editors, but they never accepted? While Chuck Dixon is best known for his work at the Big Two, most notably co-creating Bane and also his run on The Punisher, he also had an extensive career in the indie and small publishing spheres as well. I recently unearthed an old interview with him and another legendary comic pro, Ethan Van Sciver. Ethan asks Chuck about his experience working for Crossgen, a company founded by Mark Alessi. Crossgen has produced a number of titles which have maintained a sort of cult following, but the company is known as an abysmal failure.
His financial situation looked good on paper, but it wasn't good. And he expanded too quick. He spent too much money on conventions.
Of course, at its peak, Mark Alessi, the founder, didn't see it that way. Mark had zero experience in the comic book industry, and he was the founder of a company called Technical Resources Connection Inc., which he later sold to the tycoon Ross Perot. After making it big in another industry, he decided to make comic books, and had grandiose visions for his company, thinking he could defeat the Big Two.
Yeah, I remember going to conventions when with Crossgen being there. I guess I was working at DC at the time, and Crossgen had these enormous booths. They wanted to compete with DC and Marvel, and they were showing off. And I remember Mark Alessi showing. I remember something about a basketball. I can't remember what that incident was, but there was something where he was just basically saying he's going to be as big, or he is already as big as Marvel and DC, and like they were just laughing at him.
Sound familiar? I can't help but think of a certain individual, maybe one or two, not many, that you may or may not be acquainted with. Someone who made it big as a political commentator, but thought he could moonwalk on the careers of comic pros.
And all these pissy, broke, talentless fucking comic book pros who sat up there and acted like, oh, well, people just don't want to support original black characters and all this other goofy shit, which they actually used as swapping out their talentlessness, I guess, or the lack of talent that it is that they have. So they like to pretend like something's wrong with the audience. It's going to be fun moonwalking on a dead ass career. I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to be fun. So when I'm in possession of the world's most popular black comic book hero that, again, just came out, like I said, I'm moonwalking on a dead careers, and I'm not one of those guys that like to look the other way. No. I'm going to rub the shit in your face. All this shit that I just can't. I can't fucking, it just can't happen. It'll never, this is why we have to do tokenization all the time, because people won't support our original shit, even though it's dog water. People won't support that. No. People won't support you because you fucking suck. We'll show you how it's done. That's fine. I might put like, what's your dance move of choice once we win? Like what, I already told y'all, when we talk about their careers and once we win, I'm going to moonwalk. And I might go in from a moonwalk into a Cabbage Patch. And that may be my dance move of choice. And maybe that's a question that we'll put on the feedback section. Like, once we win, what's your dance move of choice once that happens? Because you guys understand that it's going to happen.
Mark was known for being a bit of a show-off, spending wads of cash on unnecessary expenses. Eric loves making elaborate trailers for his projects, but actually it's escalated beyond that. Recently, he's saying he wants to make a new animated series.
What's up, Rippaverse family? It's Dean Cain here, and I'll be voicing the Horseman for the upcoming Rippaverse animations. That's right. Look, this is a completely independent venture, and we want to see it through. Okay, well-produced, solid Western animation desperately needs to return to form.
Maybe that sounds really cool to you, but there's a reason why Disney stopped doing 2D animation. I explain that really clearly in this video over here. I'm going to make sure to put a link to it at the end of this video. But in the meantime, just take my word, These animations are extremely expensive. That's why really very few studios still make them. And not only is he wanting to make an animated show, but he's saying that he also wants to save Western animation. So he's got these big grandiose ideas. I'm going to moonwalk on the graves of comic pros, and I'm going to save Western animation. There was actually something that Chuck said about Crossgen that really stuck out to me. Mark wanted his employees to work on the characters and stories he wanted. Mark envisioned his writers and artists working on this multiverse. And let's see how they felt about that.
We had a meeting where we were all there, the writers. Well, we had no editors, but all the writers were there. And he went around the table and said, what's the future of Crossgen? And every single one of us said, we're a genre publisher. We're a genre publisher. And he said, no, it's about the Uber story. It's about the big cosmic story we're telling. And we were like, no, it's not. We have to do genre. We have to do, we're not a superhero company. And that's why El Cazador, the pirate book, sold so well, because readers knew if this company does something in a genre, they're going to do it earnestly. If they do a spy book, it's going to be a real spy book. It's going to have everything you want in that kind of story. And a pirate book's going to have everything you want in that kind of story. And they trusted us. That's where they trusted us. And he didn't understand that.
Interestingly, Eric also hired these writers and artists to work on the ideas he imagined, rather than having them being the captains of the creative ship. Eric put Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett on a superhero police procedural Alpha Corps. But let's see what they did behind the scenes.
Joe Bennett had this idea, and he presented it to me, and he said, what the Rippaverse really needs is a street-level crime-fighting character, a guy without any superpowers, self-made man. And so Joe and I together created the Horseman. And we presented the idea to Eric, and thank God he liked it.
I find it very interesting that the two worked on this project secretly. Perhaps they didn't think he would approve it if they told him directly. With that in mind, let's revisit Chuck's time at Crossgen.
Unless he would try to tell you what to do, right? And you had to come. You either did what he wanted you to do, and then he would bully you. It was like being in a prison yard, or you resisted. But I think Mark resisted. Wade took it personally and resisted way too hard. So they were just butting heads from the beginning. Me, I would just agree with him and then go do whatever I wanted to do anyway. Because I've got the 80-20. I got the 80-20 rule when it comes to editors. I listen to 100% of what they say, and then I enact 20 of it, just enough to make them happy. And they usually forget the other 80% they ask me to do. So that's how I treated Mark. I mean, when we did El Cazador, our pirate book, which is our best-selling book, I did it without even telling Alessi I was doing it. I pulled Steve Epting off of the book we were working on, and we went to work on a pirate book. And Alessi didn't even know we were doing it till half the artwork was done. Yelling and screaming at me. Why are we doing a pirate book? I said, because we need to do a pirate book. I said, I know in my heart and my soul, now Pirates of the Caribbean was going to come out like 6 months later. I said, in my heart and soul, I know we need to do a pirate book. And he says, well, I didn't create this company so you could do what you wanted. I said, you're right. Because if I was doing what I wanted, I'd be writing a Western.
So settle for the pirate book. That's terrific. And it was the best-selling book probably because people went pirate crazy after Pirates of the Caribbean.
Exactly.
How about that?
Exactly.
You're very smart.
Well,
Donna Troy, thank you.
I'm lucky every once in a while.
I think you're insightful. I think you kind of you sense the wind, and you're very clever that way. Very smart.
Mark Alessi also had these really big dreams, these huge ideas. How did it play out for him? Well, his company isn't exactly standing anymore. So is the Rippaverse going to be the next Crossgen? Let me know what you think in the comments below.